Elena navigated the gridlock traffic of Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or EDSA, as everyone called it. A heavy bundle of fragrant Sampaguita garlands was draped over her arm. The Manila sun was a relentless furnace, soaking the collar of her faded cotton shirt with sweat. Every single day was a grueling rhythm of survival. Wake up at 4 in the morning, rush to the wholesale market to buy flowers, and then spend the rest of the day weaving through cars, selling them to commuters stuck in the heat. Every spare peso she earned was sent to her aunt in the province, who was taking care of her ailing mother. Elena was a final-year engineering student, a fact that felt more like a cruel joke with each passing day. She often whispered to herself a bitter mantra under the roar of the traffic. Calculus doesn't fill a stomach. She was perpetually exhausted, the thin soles of her slippers offering little protection from the blistering hot asphalt. Her life was a constant, draining battle. One sweltering afternoon, as she approached a sleek, silver Mercedes-Benz, stuck in traffic, the heavily tinted windows slid down with a silent hum. Inside sat a man who looked like he had never known a single day of physical labor. His name was Julian, and his face, though sharp and handsome, was etched with a deep weariness. He waved away the flowers she offered. He didn't want Sampaguita. Instead, he made an offer that sounded like something from a fever dream, a desperate hallucination brought on by the heat and hunger. He asked her to pretend to be his girlfriend for 2 months. Julian's father, Don Mateo, was a powerful patriarch, a man whose obsession with seeing his son settled had become a relentless source of pressure. Julian was tired of the constant matchmaking, the endless parade of suitable women from wealthy families. He wanted a break. He needed a simple, respectable girl to present to his father, someone to keep the old man quiet and off his back. The proposition was bizarre, almost unbelievable, but Julian's eyes held a serious, desperate light. The deal he laid out was staggering. A private, air-conditioned apartment in the heart of Makati, a weekly allowance that would cover all her needs and then some. And most importantly, total privacy and respect. Her only duty would be to appear at family dinners and play the part of his loving girlfriend. Elena hesitated. The whole thing felt dangerous, a step into a world she didn't understand. But then, images flooded her mind. Her mother's rising medical bills, the crushing weight of her unpaid tuition fees, the constant gnawing hunger, the dream of finishing her engineering degree, which had been fading with each flower she sold, suddenly seemed within reach. She looked at Julian, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs, and nodded. "I'll do it." The transition from her old life to a new one was jarring, like stepping through a portal into another dimension. Julian took her to a high-end boutique in Greenbelt, a world of polished marble and hushed reverence. The staff, who had initially sized her up with dismissive glances, transformed into fawning assistants the moment they saw Julian's black credit card. She stood in front of a full-length mirror, watching as her faded shirt was replaced by a silk midi dress in a stunning shade of emerald green. The reflection staring back at her was a stranger. Her life was split into 2 starkly different realities. Before, she slept on a thin mat on the floor, lulled to sleep by the cacophony of jeepneys and shouting from the street below. Now, she sank into a queen-sized bed with 500 thread-count sheets, the silence of the soundproof apartment broken only by the soft, ambient jazz playing from a speaker. Her days of hawking flowers under the punishing sun were replaced by long, quiet hours of studying in her cool, peaceful library. The bitter, sugarless instant coffee she used to chug down was swapped for gourmet meals delivered right to her door. It was a world of glass and gold, and it felt as fragile as a dream. A few days later, the first real test arrived. They pulled up to Don Mateo's sprawling estate, a mansion that looked more like a palace. Elena's hands were clammy, her breath catching in her throat. The old man, Don Mateo, was as formidable as she had imagined, with a presence that commanded respect and a hint of fear. But the moment his eyes landed on Elena, his stern expression soft, Julian, ever so smooth, began to spin the tale they had rehearsed. He told his father that Elena came from a quiet, landed family in the north, a family that valued their privacy and preferred to stay out of the high society's spotlight. It was a perfect, believable lie. Don Mateo was absolutely delighted. He clapped Julian on the shoulder, his voice booming with approval. Finally, Julian, a girl with grace and a good head on her shoulders, Elena managed to smile. A fragile mask hiding her terror. She could feel the weight of the lie pressing against her ribs. A physical, suffocating pressure. The entire dinner was a blur of polite nods and carefully chosen words. Each one a potential misstep that could bring the whole charade crashing down. The elaborate plan was working perfectly. Almost too perfectly. But it hit a solid wall, an unexpected obstacle, in the form of Sofia, Julian's younger sister. The collision happened when Elena's two worlds were meant to never intersect. At her university, Sofia was a glamorous socialite, always surrounded by a clique of equally fashionable friends, and she attended the same university as Elena. Sofia recognized her immediately, not as the mysterious heiress from a landed family, but as the scholar girl, the quiet, serious student who always sat alone in the back of the lecture hall, furiously taking notes. The very next day, Sofia cornered Elena in a deserted hallway between classes. Her eyes, cold and sharp, scanned Elena's cheap backpack and worn-out shoes with undisguised contempt. "I know who you are," Sofia hissed, her voice a low, menacing whisper. "You're the flower girl from EDSA. I've seen you." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. "Stay away from my brother," Sofia continued, her tone dripping with venom. "Or I'll make sure everyone knows your secret. I'll make sure you're not just humiliated, but expelled." For a moment, Elena felt a surge of defiance, a desire to fight back. But life had humbled her too many times. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. Arguing would do no good. It would only make things worse. So, she did the only thing she could. She held Sofia's gaze for a second, then turned